Good morning. There's been some people sort of questioning about the fact that diet can improve immunity, and that seemed really strange to me because it's such a strong area in which I work, and I do things like live blood screening, so I see the changes in people's immune system via nutrients, via changes in health, via changes in diet and exercise and supplementation. And I've been doing it for so long that it is simply my truth because it's what I do day in, day out. So I thought I would, grab one of the good old Bibles we have here in Australia. Henry Osiki's been a physician, biochemist for more than 40 years. He's now retired, actually. He was one of the first guys 25 years ago who I did clinic experience with when I was studying and training. And he developed his own supplement range and all sorts of bits and pieces, and both his kids are now doctors and his wife's a doctor, and it's been really, he's been one of my huge influences over the years when it comes to diet and nutrition. And it really is, he's written several Bibles for nutritionists in Australia, and he's really quite fantastic. And a lot of his information comes from all around the world. He doesn't come up with it all himself, but it was really once again, it just surprises me that that's just not general knowledge. Here in Australia, people know supplements are good for them. A good half of our population take supplements at one stage or another, and most people, especially over the winter season, take things to boost their immunity. So just sort of specifically in relation to viruses, the reason I've been looking so closely at the science associated with the current epidemic is that I know that over the next 20 years, I'm going to be treating people with the side effects of this, whether they get it and get over it, or whether they get it and get chronic fatigue, or whether they get the vaccine and have to deal with the side effects. So I just know that because that's my life. That's what I do. So regardless of, and this is the thing, everyone keeps calling me an anti-vaxxer. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I just deal with people's side effects of it day in, day out. So it sort of frustrates me and that's why I'm here. So basically, when it comes to digestion, you've got to remember that 90% of your immune system's in your gut. If your diet is bad, you will have poor immunity. If we take drugs that mess with our gut, we will have bad immunity. If we take drugs that shut down our immunity because we've got autoimmune systems, immune system disorders, we'll have poor immunity. You need to have a way of dealing with that, and another drug is usually not the jolly answer. So, because that's what I also see with my clients, because I've got some clients who I've been seeing on and off for 25 years. And once an autoimmune disease hits, if they don't quench it really quickly and sort out their diet and lifestyle, they're just on more and more and more drugs. And it's really challenging because it's hard work to change things around naturally, but it can be done. So the first thing to remember is that in our gut, we have like 2 kilos of bacteria. There's good bacteria, bad bacteria, but that's like a big, huge part of our microbiome, and that's what drives our immune systems. So if the microbiome's bad because of poor fuel, what we're giving it, our immune system isn't going to be great. So for a start with viruses, the reason, I've been looking at this, and once again, there's no long-term studies with this. We don't know what's going to happen. But nonetheless, just look at something like Epstein-Barr virus, or here in Australia, Ross River virus and Barmah Forest virus. Like, these are all linked to chronic fatigue syndrome. And they're also linked to about 40 other diseases really commonly. So everything from allergies, alcohol intolerances, acne, cognitive dysfunction, poor concentration, ADD, ADHD, anxiety, irritability, depression, fatigue, lethargy, fever, gastritis, hair loss, texture changes, low-grade fevers and infections, low red blood cell count, magnesium depletion, palpitations. That's just a couple of bugs. So if this bug is as big and bad as what they're saying, once again, we don't know long term. I just suspect it's going to be a mess. So I'm sort of thinking, once again, what can you do in your homes to make you a powerhouse for antiviral activity? That's what you want at this time in your life. So I'm sort of looking through, and obviously there's a whole bunch of biochemical stuff, but really for a start, If you're eating something you're allergic to or have intolerances to, you're reducing your immunity. So what ends up happening when we've got allergies and intolerances is that we create leaky gut. We create a permeable gut. So what happens there is that the foods, let's just say wheat and dairy, and I'm not against wheat and dairy for everyone, but let's just say. So the gluten and gliadin in wheat is a really hard to break down protein. 70% of the wheat on the planet is genetically modified. It makes the strand really, really long. It's really hard to break down in the gut. We need hydrochloric acid to break it down and other enzymes. And there's actually a DPP4 enzyme we need to break down wheat and dairy proteins. And if we're not releasing enough of that, it can create all sorts of other issues. Anyway, so if you don't have enough hydrochloric acid and other enzymes in the gut, you don't break down your proteins properly, then if you've got leaky gut, the proteins can get out into your bloodstream. Your immune system then releases white blood cells, particularly eosinophils. They go and try to zap those particles in your bloodstream. So that's the overactive immune system trying to kill them. Now, because they're being confused in your bloodstream for an invader, for a virus or a bacteria that shouldn't be there. So not something that's part of your microbiome or your long-term immune system. So first thing is you've got to get your gut working properly. And if you're getting bloating, burping, belching, wind, flatulence, diarrhea, constipation, anything like that, you're going to need something like digestive enzymes, apple cider vinegar before meals, lemon juice and water in the morning, ginger tablets. You need something to stimulate your good acid in your good acid, not the fermentation, your good acid in your gut in order to break down your food better. Okay, digestion first up. So once you get your digestion working better, sometimes some allergies and intolerance disappear. Sometimes the body has already built up a fear of that food, and a lot of allergic responses are actually like an overreaction of the immune system, which also goes into your fight and flight mechanism. So I've had many clients over the years, they can actually just think about eating something like a milkshake and they'll get swollen throat and, start having hives or, so the thought can actually create some of the symptoms as well. So you've got to get your digestion working. When it comes to things like retroviruses, we can get them through our parents. So it can come down through in the genetics and mess with some of our genes, but we can also get it from vaccines. About 6 to 12% of vaccines have retroviruses in them, so therefore we can be getting it from retroviruses can change the way our genes work, and usually, of course, not for the better. Things that are rich in nucleosides like liver, pate, offal, prawns, oysters, those things all increase immunity. Eating a portion of your protein first in your meal, that helps to stimulate hydrochloric acid in your stomach. High levels of hydrochloric acid help to kill viruses and bacteria. So eating your protein portion first. So if you're having a salad and a steak, eat part of your steak first. Even if you're having a steak sandwich, eat part of the steak first. If you're, so you're vegan, vegetarian, so have some of the egg first, have some of the dairy first. For vegans, have some of the nuts first, so have some of your higher protein things first. That helps to stimulate the immunity. There's lots of nutrients that are very specifically effective against viruses. So zinc, quercetin, selenium, lysine, B1, B6, B5, vitamins A, C, BACE, all of those can really help you to boost your immunity. If you go get a cheap vitamin from the supermarket, even if you take like 3 times the normal dose of that, so that you're getting some sort of level of nutrition. I know, it's locked down. Lots of people just want to drink and have sugar and pizza, and that's fine too, but it's not going to help your immune system. Things like getting your colon fibers up and running, so acidophilus and that sort of thing. Increasing your fiber is so important because fiber, non-soluble and insoluble fibers, we need them in order to create an environment where the good bacteria grow. And it's really important for everything from moving things through the bowel so that things aren't fermenting. So once again, it's about improving the immune system long term and not allowing things like cancer to grow. There's lots of Yeah, you've got to repair that gut. So if we are the sort of person who has chronically had bloating, burping, belching, wind, flatulence, constipation, diarrhea, you've got to heal the gut lining. So things like glutamine, vitamin A, vitamin D, licorice extracts, and I'm not talking, going and buying like a stick of licorice full of sugar. I'm talking the actual herb licorice. If you've got blood pressure, there's a thing in it called glycorizer. You've got to have a low glycorizer licorice because the glycorizer can raise blood pressure. Anyway, there's you can message me. So that sort of thing. If you've got bowel permeability, the other things that you can also do are things like folate. Lots of essential fatty acids are really important for that. Even glucosamine and chondroitin, which we take for arthritis, for our joints, they're also really good for permeable gut as well. So we've got to improve the gut, get the gut healing happening, reduce some allergies and intolerances. There's all sorts of vitamins. Things that support the host immune system. So once again, it is those usual things, the B's, the E's, the C's, the zincs, the folic acids, magnesium, seleniums, lysines, beta-carotenes, vitamin A, and liver support. Because when we've got a big viral load, if you're not supporting the liver because as you can imagine, if you are killing a virus or a bacteria, there's going to be LPSs, lipopolysaccharides. Those can that's the particles of the bits that we've just destroyed. You've got to be able to get them out of the system. If they build up in the liver, that's not going to be helpful. So once again, phase 1 support nutrients are things like vitamin C, E, glutathione. Phase 2, glycine, taurine, cysteine, antioxidant nutrients, B12, folate, B6, so that B6, B9, B12. One of the things that they did find with people who get chronic viral load is that they're often high in homocysteine. So funnily enough, there was a study in Australia a few years ago where they looked, because homocysteine is something that naturopaths like knowing about, doctors don't particularly care. And part of the reason is that the cheapest, easiest way to reduce homocysteine is by getting in some B6, B9, B12. You can't patent them. So therefore, pharmaceutical companies don't want to know anything about it. But basically, the study said that high levels of homocysteine are not linked to heart attacks or strokes, unless you've had a heart attack or a stroke, in which case we need to monitor high levels of homocysteine. Just funny. Anyway, so then, of course, there's things like echinacea. St. John's wort is very specifically antiviral. Super mushroom complex, things like Coriolis, Graphola, reishi, that sort of thing. So the super mushroom combinations, they help to boost really specifically white blood cells called lymphocytes. Lymphocytes are antiviral more than anything. When you're doing live blood screening, just by the way, the little lymphocyte, it sort of grows, because when I'm doing my live blood, I'm seeing this, my thumb. So say the size of a red blood cell is about the size of my thumb, because it's obviously blown up under a microscope. Yeah, right. I'm thinking in Australian. So the white blood cells, the neutrophils, are about the size of a 20-cent piece in Australia. The lymphocytes are about the size of a 10-cent piece in Australia, so about half the size. Anyway, so when you see a lymphocyte that has taken on some really nasty virus, it becomes an atypical lymphocyte, and it actually swells and bloats inside. So you can see this membrane around it that is basically it containing fluid in order to dilute the viral particles because they're so toxic. Now, funnily enough, when we retain fluid as human beings, that's exactly what our body's doing. Our body's going, something's toxic or inflamed in there, let's retain fluid to dilute the toxins, acids, stress hormones, whatever it is. So when we get fluid, that's what our little cells are doing as well. So atypical monocytes and atypical lymphocytes are often signs of something viral or toxic going on that we just haven't quite dealt with yet. So essential fatty acids are also real essential oil. So DPA and EPA in fish oils, they also have antiviral properties. And part of what it does is helps to remove cholesterol from the viral envelope, preventing viral replication. So therefore, people who are taking DHA, EPA, high levels of fish oils, you're less likely to get any viruses. Good stuff. The DHA, EPA in fish oils also help to lower the nitric oxide, which is part of the whole inflammatory cycle. We've also got to, when you get a virus or get sick and your energy really, really drops, part of that is that your mitochondria has stopped creating energy. So we need to really support our energy production. So especially when we've got that post-viral fatigue, if you've ever suffered from that. We need things like carnitine, coenzyme Q10, B1, B5, malic acid, allopoic acid, succinic acid, ketoglucarate, gamma-tosyl, that's one of the vitamin E, magnesium and taurine supplements. So those sort of things all help to pump your energy and help your body to deal with the viral load that potentially is still there. So basically, we need to get the inflammation down. We need to boost the immunity. You need to look at don't need to do anything. These are just ideas. But we need to really start thinking about our health in the way of what are we eating? What is it doing to our health? Do I want to live a better, longer healthy life? I do. So it's funny, I was chatting to one of my neighbours yesterday, and she is a woman who I've lived across the road from for 21 years. And I actually had no idea how old she was. So she is a woman who does yoga 3 times a week. Not at the moment, of course, she's doing it all online. But she does yoga 3 times a week. She's got friends she catches up with all the time. She makes sure she maintains a healthy, happy weight. It's always one of her core things. She had a big accident about 5 years ago, so major spinal trauma. She's 79 years old. She is out and about every single day of her life. I would never have known she was 79. Quite blew my mind. So what a surprise. And she's on no drugs. Just saying. And so it's sort of one of those things where we were chatting about the flu vaccine, about the pneumonia vaccine, and of course her doctor had pushed her for it this year. So she's never had it in 20 years. This year her doctor pushed her for it. She was sick for a month. So some people get a reaction, and part of it is because about 60% of the flu vaccine is heavy metals. So heavy metals create like this response in the gut, that the idea is that it stimulates an immune response so that we end up with antibodies to whatever viral or bacterial particles are in there that we're trying to deal with. But many, many, many people get sicker after the flu than if they hadn't had the flu shot. Some people never get an immune response whatsoever, which is obviously a sign of something really well working in their systems. So anyway, that's my 2 bits for today. Have a great day. Talk soon. Bye.